What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA
Friday, February 26th.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made.
Okay guys, we have a 9-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the point guard position. Now this is a value play on DraftKings only. I like Seben Lee from the Detroit Pistons playing the Sacramento Kings, who have the absolute worst defense overall, and they give up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Seben Lee, he scored 30, 34, and 32 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 21, 28, and 32 minutes. He's projected at 28 fantasy points here tonight. Now, even on FanDuel, that's 5.2 times value. He's $5,400 FanDuel salary, but he's $1,100 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. I think it's a little risky to play him on FanDuel, but great DraftKings value play. Vegas thinks there's going to be 224 points scored in this game. Fantastic matchup. So I like Seben Lee on DraftKings here versus the Sacramento Kings. Okay, another point guard that I like is Mike Conley from the Utah Jazz playing the Miami Heat, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing point guards, but Mike Conley has averaged 31.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He scored 39, 32, and 22 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 36, 29, and 25 minutes. He's projected at 30.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's $6,000 FanDuel salary and 100 more on DraftKings. Now, Mike Conley has scored 42 and 53 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Heat, so I like that player versus team history. So I like Mike Conley here versus the Miami Heat. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Atlanta Hawks, who have the 13th worst defense overall, and although they've been pretty good versus opposing shooting guards, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has averaged 40.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 28% usage rate. He scored 57, 40, and 49 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 38, 35, and 35 minutes. He's projected at 41.7 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's $8,000 FanDuel salary and 800 more on DraftKings. So I love that FanDuel price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 223.5 points scored in this game. So I like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander here versus the Atlanta Hawks. Another shooting guard that I like is Andrew Wiggins from the Golden State Warriors playing the Charlotte Hornets, who have the 3rd worst defense overall, and they give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Andrew Wiggins has averaged 30.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He scored 26, 26, and 32 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 33, 37, and 33 minutes. He's projected at 31.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.8 times value. He's $6,600 FanDuel salary, and he's $400 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 232 points scored in this game. Fantastic matchup here. I think his price is just a little bit too low on DraftKings, so I like Andrew Wiggins here versus the Charlotte Hornets.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $100 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won, and then we'll send you $100 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like Gordon Hayward from the Charlotte Hornets playing the Golden State Warriors, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Gordon Hayward has averaged 36.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 25% usage rate. He scored 38, 37, and 27 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 34, 25, and 32 minutes. He's projected at 35.2 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's $7,100 FanDuel salary and $400 less on DraftKings. So I like that DraftKings price. So we know Vegas thinks this is going to be a high-scoring game. 232 points scored in this game. It's a good matchup, so I like Gordon Hayward here versus the Golden State Warriors. Okay, another small forward that I like is LeBron James from the LA Lakers playing the Portland Trailblazers, who have the 8th worst defense overall, and although they've been pretty good against opposing small forwards, LeBron James has averaged 47.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 32% usage rate. He scored 29, 56, and 44 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 27, 43, and 37 minutes. He's projected at 48.4 fantasy points here tonight. Now that's only 4.6 times value. He's $10,500 FanDuel salary and $200 more on DraftKings, but I think he can score 50 fantasy points or more in this matchup. And if we look at his team history versus the Trailblazers, LeBron James scored 55, 64, 53, and 62 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Trailblazers. So he has excellent player versus team history. So that's why I like this pick, and that's why I like LeBron James here versus the Portland Trailblazers. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. Here's a value play for you, especially on DraftKings. He's also a FanDuel play, but just a smash DraftKings value play. I like Markieff Morris from the LA Lakers playing the Portland Trailblazers, who have the 8th worst defense overall, and they give up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Markieff Morris, he scored 23 and 17 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 27 and 21 minutes. He's projected at 18.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's $3,700 FanDuel salary, and he's $600 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 222 points scored in this game. Now, just be cautious of this pick. I mean, you're getting him for super low salary. So if he plays 15 to 20 minutes and gets you 15 to 20 fantasy points on DraftKings, you're going to hit value. He'll be a nice value play, but he's got some abysmal numbers in here. He's got scores like a 9, a 6. So just be careful of Markieff Morris, but I think his salary is low enough on DraftKings where you can eliminate that risk. The matchup is good, so I like Markieff Morris here versus the Portland Trailblazers.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, another power forward that I like is Jeremiah Grant from the Detroit Pistons playing the Sacramento Kings, who have the absolute worst defense overall, and they give up the second most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Jeremiah Grant has averaged 38.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 36 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He scored 35 and 34 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 33 and 34 minutes. Now, we did sit out last game, but that was just for rest, so he should be good to go tonight, rested and ready to score a ton of fantasy points. He's projected at 38 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's 7,600 FanDuel salary and 300 less on DraftKings. Now, Jeremiah Grant, he doesn't have great player versus team history versus the Sacramento Kings, but he is rested, and it is a fantastic matchup, and I like his DraftKings price. Only 7,300 for a guy that's averaging 38 fantasy points per game on the season. So I like Jeremiah Grant here versus the Sacramento Kings. Okay, moving on to the center position. I like Enes Kanter from the Portland Trailblazers playing the LA Lakers, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing centers, but Enes Kanter has averaged 29.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 26 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate. He scored 39, 30, and 39 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 38, 27, and 33 minutes. He's projected at 33.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.3 times value. He's 6,300 FanDuel salary and 500 more on DraftKings. So I like that FanDuel price. So Kanter has scored 32, 1, 32, 44, and 47 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Lakers. You can throw out that 1. And throwing out that 1, he's got some pretty good player versus team history here. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 222 points scored in this game. So I like Enes Kanter here versus the LA Lakers. Okay, another center that I like is Clint Capella from the Atlanta Hawks playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have the 4th worst defense overall, and they give up the 13th most fantasy points to opposing centers. Clint Capella has averaged 40.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He scored 29, 39, and 37 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 21, 36, and 31 minutes. He's projected at 41 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's 8,200 FanDuel salary and 400 less on DraftKings. So I like that DraftKings price. So Vegas thinks there's going to be 223.5 points scored in this game. It's a good matchup. So I like Clint Capella here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.